Good morning and welcome to the Daily Light Devotion. I hope all of you had a wonderful Monday and looking forward to today, that is Tuesday. Today we're going to look at how Jesus went to the temple and he cleaned the temple, he cleansed the temple. We'll look at Mark chapter 11 verses 15 to 17. It says, "So they came to Jerusalem. Then Jesus went into the temple and began to drive out those who bought and sold in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves." Now, what was happening here was that it was during the time of Passover. So everyone was, visiting Jerusalem. Uh, People were coming from outside also. And this was the biggest festival where thousands of people came to Jerusalem. Whether this event happened, it was actually not really inside, right, where the Jewish people worship, but it was outside where Gentiles were allowed. So the non-Jewish people were allowed in that area. That is the only area in the temple they were allowed, right? And it's called the court of the Gentiles, and the only area. So and the temple became like a noisy shopping mall, right? And worshippers were being cheated, especially the poor ones, right? Prayers were being drowned out by the loud noise, and the outsiders were pushed aside. So the people who came from very far also, they were not getting to worship. So there was a lot of chaos happening. We just, when we read, we just see that Jesus, was driving out the people and he turned the tables. But there was much more to it, and that's why Jesus responded. Jesus responded by he flipped the tables, threw the people out, and why he because why? Because he wanted God's house to be a place of prayer. Now, for all nations, not a den of robbers. Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 11. Um, why did Jesus act like this? There were reasons. How would you feel if a quiet place of prayer became a chaotic market? So these were the questions that we need to reflect on when we read this. There were three basic problems, right, confronting the temple that time, and Jesus saw that. One was exploitation. Money changers took advantage of people who came to worship, and specifically, it was very tough for poor people, right? Sellers charged unfair prices for animals needed for sacrifice. Then there was That's the first part. Second part was distraction. The temple wasn't a quiet place; it was noisy and commercial, and it disturbed people who went to pray. And third, hypocrisy. The leaders looked religious but were using the temple for their own selfish gain. So we need to check our lives also, right? In our personal lives and also in our churches, right? Um, uh, how is it like this? Do they have, is there exploitation, distraction, or hypocrisy? It's a reflection to in our personal lives and the body of Christ also, right? Uh, because we need to look at it. What are the modern day examples of this happening, if this is happening? Because Jesus said, "My house should be a house of prayer," and we're going to look at that. Um, so basically, it starts with our heart, which is the temple, right? Uh, Jesus wants to cleanse our heart. We looked at it last week. A week, what might need clearing out, right? There could be money changes, that could be greed, selfish motives, worship just for show. There could be clutter, too busy to pray. Um, so we need to write these things that distract us, so that and give it to Jesus so that he can cleanse us. And when he cleanses us, we worship him. There will be no idols, because without knowing, we start creating idols. Remember, right? We need to understand that Jesus's vision was very different. He had a house. His vision was a house of prayer for all. So he wanted a prayer at the center, all people included, worship for free, from selfish gain, right? So we need to understand: is our relationship with God a transactional, or is it relational? Right? I give so God blesses me versus I just want to know Him. You know, yes, giving is not just money, but giving time, giving, everything that you have, does it come out of our relationship with God, or does it come out of, you know, okay, I'm trying to bribe God, right? Or I'm trying to give my time so that I can get something back. So the motive is very important of our hearts. Now, how can we make a life, home, and group more welcoming to outsiders, right? So I want to ask you, leave you with this question: is that, Jesus didn't just flip the tables to destroy, but to restore true worship. What are we doing to restore and have that intimate relationship with God every day? Because there will be distractions, there'll be worldly things that come from outside, right? And there will be things that, that bother us, that stop us from worshiping, our work, our busyness. What are we doing to make sure, you know, that we do not stop from worshiping God? I remember the story of John Wesley. John Wesley was the one who started the Methodist movement, and he went and visited Queen Elizabeth the First. Now, Queen Elizabeth the First was very interested, right, in in knowing how he was turning whole of Europe upside down for Christ. And so he had a conversation with Queen Elizabeth, and then he stood up. And remember, Queen Elizabeth was the most powerful woman that time, Elizabeth the First, and he stood up after some time. And so Queen Elizabeth said, "What happened?" And he said, "Your Highness, I need to leave because my time has come to worship the King of Kings." So he had a certain point of time when he would go and worship. So he would not have any distractions. And she was, shocked, because here is the most powerful woman in the world. And this man is saying, I need to go and worship the King of Kings, that is Jesus, right now. It's my time. So that is the attitude our hearts need to have. And the cleansing of the temple gives us the example of that our hearts need to be pure in worshiping God, right? When we worship God and we walk, that means worship means where everything we do, we do unto the glory of God. That's worship. So we must understand that. I want to encourage you, true worship will lead to an intimate relationship. And we need to make sure there is no exploitation there, right? There is no um, distraction, or there is no hypocrisy there. So anyways, have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday. Bye.